Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hello everyone, Craig here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Jamie and he's selling his dropshipping business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. So welcome to the show, Jamie. How are you doing today?
Hi Craig, doing very well. How's yourself?
I'm doing fantastic, thank you for asking. I'm looking forward to talking more about your business. But before we dive in, let's go over a brief summary of the business. It's a dropshipping business in the equipment niche created in July 2017. The average monthly revenue for the business is $105,835 and it makes an average of $10,157 net profit each month. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 49757 to learn more about the business, or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So now that I've given a general overview of the business, let's have a look at what's included in the sale. So we have the domain including all site content and files, an email list with 1,286 subscribers, SOPs, supplier contracts and relationships, employee contract relationships, and social media accounts for Facebook and Instagram. Okay, Jamie, now let's hear from you. Can you tell us a little about your background in building and running online businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. So the business has been running for about 3.5 years now, but prior to that, probably around 2015, 2016, I came across this term dropshipping, probably by some cliche route like a Tim Ferriss podcast or something similar, and just started learning a little bit about the dropshipping model and what it can offer in terms of lifestyle and flexibility. At the time, I was still working like a 9-to-5 job. In fact, I still am now. So that probably helped encourage me looking into something different and something that can offer a bit more flexibility. So yeah, once I learned a bit more about the business model, I just proceeded to find the best product and kind of went for it. And thankfully, it's turned out quite well a few years down the road.
Excellent. Yeah, these are the exactly type of customer success stories that we love to hear. And when you first started out, did you experiment with different types of products, or was it sort of the one that you tried, took off straight away? I
learned a little bit about what makes a good dropshipping product to sell. And I knew I didn't want to go down the route of a kind of cheap products from Alibaba type model. So the model I learned about was selling high ticket items. So I learned a bit about the metrics, the numbers, the characteristics that would make a good product to sell on a dropshipping website. And I actually spent a ton of time doing product research. I probably had about 50 products in a big list. Just drill down into each one. Do they tick all the boxes? Are there any red flags? I actually built myself a little tool which, looked at the numbers, how many people are searching for the product. Is there too much competition? Is there no competition, which would be just as bad? And eventually got to the product that I've stuck with. And yeah, like I say, it's thankfully gone quite well.
Excellent stuff. And how come was it that you chose the dropshipping model over, for example, like e-commerce or FBA?
Like most people, I guess, who run dropshipping businesses, just the flexibility, the location independence, and just the opportunity to really work from anywhere. Well, definitely reduced hours compared to a 9-to-5. And also it seemed to be a model that can be learnt about fairly quickly, like with a bit of background learning and sticking to some kind of rules and systems, then it seems like anyone can kind of get into it. And another thing I'd say is the low startup costs. So while it doesn't cost much to start up, of course, that translates into more time up front to get the business off the ground. But at the time, I certainly didn't have any capital that I could have invested in a business. So being able to start from nothing and scale up from there was definitely appealing. And yeah, like I say, just all the flexibility that it offers, provided you've got, a laptop and an internet connection.
Absolutely, yeah. It's one of the business models that offers the easiest point of entry. And as for the niche, was that based on the product research, or do you have a particular connection to this niche at all?
I tried not to get too emotionally attached to what I would sell. So, of course, I've got plenty of interests, but I thought going down that route might just create a bit of bias, and I might get, I don't know, a bit distracted by product type that I feel close to. So I really stuck to the hard facts, to the numbers, and to what I'd learned from little like bits and pieces from some online courses and some YouTube videos on what should work. And I'm an engineer by qualification, so that, like, I guess, kind of mathematical mind, like, stick to what works, what's repeatable. So to answer your question, it certainly wasn't something that I have a big interest in. It was more prioritizing the product that would work best for the model.
Yeah, interesting stuff. So what did the growth of the business look like when you first started? What sort of growth strategies did you employ, worked, what didn't, things like that?
We started off, of course, built the website, got the products uploaded, and started running Google Shopping ads. And I can go into this in more details later and how that's been successful. But that was, again, just how I'd learned how to do it through following some courses. And at the start, I probably set up my campaigns not quite right. It definitely didn't work immediately. But as I started looking at the numbers and learning more about how you can reinvest those metrics that come from the Google Shopping ads back into the business and continue to leverage the numbers, through time, it just started to work. And I guess as I added more products, from the get-go, as soon as I added a new product line, it was already doing the right thing. I was already targeting ready-to-buy customers, to use that phrase. And that's what's continued to be successful as I've scaled the marketing, both in terms of marketing costs and in terms of how many products I'm marketing.
Excellent. So, yeah, in terms of marketing, you mentioned Google Shopping. Is there any other marketing strategies that you employ? What's the main driver of traffic for the website?
It is Google Shopping ads. So I guess I chose to stick to one strategy and become really good at it instead of trying to spread myself across the likes of social media ads or really drilling into the SEO or anything like that. I stuck with my Google Ads strategy. And like I say, through time, that's worked really well. And Google, it gives you so much value in terms of once you start to invest in it, you get back more metrics. And I basically continued to leverage those numbers. So in terms of marketing, it's been mainly Google. I do run some basic email retargeting. So I have a abandoned cart email. I have a welcome series email. But in terms of those two areas in particular, the email list and also social media, those are definitely two areas that could be tapped into and not ones which I've explored in any great detail, to be honest.
Absolutely, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So it seems you have a good business here that got a nice year-on-year growth of traffic and earnings are growing as well. So how come you're selling the business right now?
Very good question. Probably one I would be asking as well. So my wife and I were actually living out in Asia for a few years and both working full time. I was running the business around the side. We've actually just recently moved back to the UK. We're expecting a baby in a few months. And I'm just looking to buy a family house. So just to raise the capital to put into real estate. It's as simple as that.
Okay, yeah, to start a new chapter of your life. That's totally understandable. So if you were to continue your entrepreneurial journey sometime in the future, is there anything you learned from this business that you'll apply to future sites or businesses?
Yeah, definitely. So we've touched on it already, but just the method I use to choose a product, I would definitely repeat that and don't need to give any information on that. Something which has worked really well in this business, and I think I could apply to a future dropshipping business, particularly for high ticket products, is I've had a really regular flow of sales of around $1,000 per sale, but that's been really nicely complemented by larger B2B type sales to commercial buyers. So something which I wasn't doing at the start, but has become a really important part of the business is just putting systems in place to keep that sale pattern rolling over. So those smaller sales, which I mentioned formerly, they happen without any customer conversations or lead up to the sale. The bigger sales, which could be $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 per sale, like I say, for more commercially focused customers, just learn a really good, repeatable SOPs that are in place to make that happen. So that basically involves email templates, just using the right language for the customer. And also through time, we've built a really solid pricing strategy for the commercial sales. So now we understand what the price point needs to be if someone comes to us and says, hey guys, I want to buy 10 items. we can get back to them super fast, let's say within 30 minutes turnaround with exactly the price we can offer when we can get the products to them. So to go back to your question, the thing I would take on to a new business is just building those systems that can allow you to turn around any customer queries, particularly when they relate to bigger sales, which of course is where a lot of our revenue and therefore profit comes from. But going with good suppliers has also been something I would do again, and something that has been something I've got better at through time. So to me, it's quite obvious now, and I wouldn't have known the start when I set out. But if I reach out to a new supplier now, there's good signs from the start. Like if they reply promptly, they're keen to help us. They want to build a two-way relationship where we can help them and they can help us. And they often give us a dedicated sales representative who can help with any follow-up queries that the customer might have, any technical queries. And more importantly is the margins that our suppliers give us. So from the get-go, I know now with a bit of confidence that if a supplier gives us their numbers and the margins are just not good, I'm in a confident position to say, look, this is what we get across the board. You're well below the average, and just come back to them with a stronger position so that we can get a better margin from the get-go. And of course, that has a knock-on effect on how much we can spend on marketing and then therefore how much we can sell of that product. So yeah, it's really just through experience and something that can be passed on, of course, through the relationships that we've built up with these suppliers, is just knowing what to look for from the get-go with a new supplier.
Excellent insights there. And you mentioned the B2B companies. Did they come out to you, or did you sort of change your targeting in your marketing campaigns, or how did that come about?
It was something that we didn't focus on at the start. And then through time, they approach us normally. So they'll tell us what they're looking for, the volume they're looking for. And then, like I say, we're able to go back to them quite promptly with offering the right thing. Through time, because we did notice that a lot of the revenue was coming from those types of customers, we have put some things in place on the website which just make it much easier for a potential commercial customer to reach out and ask the right questions. So we've kind of streamlined that process and made it easier to get to that point where we're having the discussion about the sale that could be worth $20,000, $30,000 of revenue.
Okay, great stuff. So was there anything you tried with this business that didn't work out?
I would say at the start, and again, just a learning curve, I was probably overly analyzing the likes of Google Analytics, my Google ads, every day on there, trying to work out what's going on. If you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on Google ads, then small tweaks daily probably do make a difference. But, in the size of business that we run, I learned through time that over granular monitoring didn't really have much benefit. So now I have a nice process in place where I have a weekly reminder, for example, to look at Google Analytics. And then there'll be, like, as another example, a monthly reminder to look if there's any new products out from our existing suppliers. So at the start, looking into things in too much detail on a daily basis and not focusing on the things that actually will generate more return in the long term. So just a bit of a learning curve there.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's some great lessons to learn in business. So we've talked about your marketing traffic. So if you were to keep the business, what are some ways that you would try to grow it?
If I was to buy this business tomorrow, I would immediately get going with scaling it by adding additional products. So I have already, unfortunately, just not had time between this and my job, but I've already identified a list of around 20 new potential suppliers, some of which I've reached out to already and I'm already in the process of arranging the contract with. But the easiest way to scale this business and to continue growth would be to add these new products and these new suppliers, and not only in the niche in which the business was originally built, but the business is actually starting to, I don't know what the term is, side niche, let's say, so some complementary product lines also which fit the bill in terms of meeting my product analysis requirements, so the metrics and the right characteristics. It wouldn't just be about adding products in the existing niche, but it'd be about scaling into complementary niches, which are also really fantastic dropshipping products. And I touched on this earlier, would be to utilize the email list. So I have, I think, around 1,400 people on the email list. That's been used very, very little. I mean, I think I do have a thank you email that goes out a week afterwards, but in terms of someone who's got a bit of knowledge on how to use an existing email list. And the third thing would be the social media. So I did dip my toes in very, very slightly on using Facebook for retargeting, but I've not even scratched the surface in terms of bringing new customers from social media. So yeah, that would be the three areas which I would look into if I took over the business.
Absolutely, yeah. There's definitely some solid foundations for this business that a potential buyer can build upon. So can you describe the amount and type of work you do on this site for maintenance?
On average, I spend about 10 hours a week. Like any business, that can be less, that can be a little more. Very typical e-commerce business tasks. So processing orders, fulfilling orders, sometimes have customer queries in terms of, they could be future customers, like I mentioned, they could be future commercial customers, B2B. They could be existing customers who just want a little bit of knowledge, or maybe they've got an issue. Other than that, like I say, every week I'll tweak the Google marketing, the Google shopping campaigns, and make sure they're going as planned. And then a typical monthly task would be updating the P&L, updating the financial records, and also just quickly scanning over our existing suppliers to make sure that they don't have any new products that are coming out. So yeah, really just keeping things ticking over and making sure that the business is growing in order to keep up by, like I say, adding new product lines.
Okay. What skills or requirements do you think there are for someone who's not familiar with this niche or business model?
I think one of the nice things about the dropshipping model is there's not any really technical skills that you need to get into it. So you can really hit the ground running with both with this particular business and with the model in general. The business is built on Shopify. It's an amazing platform. It's super easy to use. So in terms of the back end and how the business is built, I wouldn't say that there are any particular skills required. Something that is a little bit more technical is how I've set up my Google Shopping ads. It's not magic. This method is on YouTube, it's on blogs, but I do have a particular method that I use. And of course, I would definitely put that into a video, and that's the kind of thing I would hand over to a potential buyer just so they can hit the ground running and get straight on track with how I'm already running things.
Excellent. Yeah. And of course, the SOPs are included in the sale to help the buyer get integrated with the business.
Yeah, and in addition to the SOPs, something that, again, wouldn't be a particular skill set, but just consistent customer service. Like we always try to reply to a customer query within the day. And that's definitely been a key to the success. Like we often have customers coming back, being very complimentary about how quickly they've heard back from us, particularly relative to other experiences they've had in online shopping. So, if someone was to run the business, that would be something that I would say it's not always a tangible return because it's a bit of a soft skill, if you're just answering emails in a polite way. But getting an email back in a non-generic way, in a kind of personable way, I think goes a really long way. And that's something that we've put a lot of focus and time in with the business so far.
Yeah, it's definitely something that is easy to overlook, but can be a fantastic growth strategy for a business. Absolutely. What do you think are the biggest risks with this business that a buyer should be aware of?
I think this would be common to most online business, are just external factors that are difficult to control. So especially in dropshipping, there's so many benefits. We can run the business from anywhere. We don't have to hold inventory. The risk level is fairly low. But I would say we have had the odd supplier who has, I suppose, in turn reflected badly on us because they've not delivered on time or they've not kind of kept up with the agreement that we promised via our website. But the good thing is through time, like I say, the business has run for 3.5 years now. So we have kind of managed those issues out of the business. So there's certain suppliers which we don't use anymore. And likewise, going forward, there's red flags that come up immediately if that kind of risk comes around again. So if a supplier isn't performing in order to keep in line with our high level of customer service, then it might just be a case of, for example, reducing the ad spend on that particular supplier. So we're not using a lot of dead time where we could be doing something more productive. So yeah, those would be the risks, external factors of suppliers who aren't great. But like I say, there's always something that could be put in place to kind of get around those problems.
Absolutely, yeah. Risks can always be mitigated somewhat. So overall, putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think this is a business worth buying?
The nice thing with the business is it's already up and running. So like I mentioned, dropshipping business is cheap to start up, but it takes a lot of time to get it off the ground. So I've definitely done that difficult bit already, proven that the product works and created a consistent stream of income. So that's definitely appealing. It means someone who can take over the business is already up and running. And in addition to that, we have a fairly solid customer base. So we're starting to see more and more customers come back to us month to month, year on year. So that's something that often can only be gained through time. And likewise with our suppliers. So we've built a really good relationship with a lot of the suppliers, so much so that some of them give us preferential treatment. So maybe they have a big commercial inquiry that goes to them. They reach out to us and say, look, this customer is looking to buy X number of units of the product that you're carrying. I'm going to put you in touch and loop you into the email. And it's not only the relationship with their suppliers, but also we now get favorable, like top tier pricing with a few of the suppliers. So because we've hit X number in sales, could be like $100,000 in sales, let's say, for a particular supplier, then they give us our margin, which of course, in turn, we can then spend on more marketing and sell more of their products. So the business is in a nice place in terms of what it's developed and the kind of things that would normally take a bit of time to get to this stage. And like I mentioned earlier, there's also a ton of avenues which I've not explored, mainly in additional products, which could, you could start to add those products tomorrow, and also exploring those other areas that I mentioned, like the email list and social media marketing, which we haven't really looked into.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said before, it's got solid foundations, this business, and leveraging those supplier relationships is so important, especially in the dropshipping business model. So regarding the sale of this business, would you commit to a non-compete?
Yeah, absolutely. That's no problem.
And how much support are you willing to offer buyers? Are you going for the standard 30 days of email and Skype support?
Yeah, so of course I'm proud of the business. I'd like to see it continue to do well. So I'll be handing over the SOPs and those relationships, and one Skype call per week, for example, is absolutely fine.
Excellent. And are you open to negotiating something like an earnout?
Yeah, I'd be open to that kind of offer, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to share that I might have missed?
No, I think we've covered just about everything. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, great call. And thank you very much for your time, Jamie. It's been great talking to you. Okay,
thanks a lot, Craig.
All right, everyone, thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 49293. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.